Hello, everybody, and welcome in to another episode of the Couch GMs podcast. It is Thursday, May 14th, 2026. I'm your host, George Kurt, joined by the one and only Cody Roadcap. And you know what day it is, Cody. It is officially schedule release day. Get us a little hype coming up for the next season.
Oh, I thought I could rant about how the NBA officials were afraid to call a foul at the end of a game. But nope, we're
I
going to talk about
mean,
the NFL schedule release. In the year of 2026, the NBA officials afraid to call a foul. Crazy. But this football podcast, I'm sorry, I had to get that off my chest. Schedule release day, excited. Already starting to plan out which games I might be attending, which games I want to try to get to. Can I get to New Orleans to see the Packers in that wonderful city? Do I just end up going to Green Bay for a showdown with Josh Allen? Who knows? I'll have to figure that out.
some good games you got, possibilities here. Everybody who, if you're out there waiting to see your favorite team's full schedule, they're going to get released on social media at 7:30, and then there is a special on the major networks at 8 o'clock. But Cody and I are going to walk you through some of the things that we know already, some interesting schedule quirks, maybe have some reactions to some of the interesting things they're doing this year. And we're going to hit some news beforehand. Make sure you're following us at the Couch GMs on Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok to get even more than you do from the show. If you have any questions for us or any reactions, drop them in the comments. We'll put them up on the screen and talk about them as we go, as we do every Thursday night at 6:30 East on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. With that being said, Cody, why don't we see what's happening? What is happening? We're going to start with running back contract extensions because two big backs got big deals this past 2 weeks since we did miss you last week. Breece Hall gets some big money, and then Devon Achane cashes in as well. Can't say either of them are shockers, but what are your thoughts?
I think the one that's the Brees Hall was franchise tagged, right? So, but I
Yep.
know there was a lot of speculations like, is Devon Achane going to survive the turnover? Are they going to try to move him for more pieces? We saw what they did with the wide receiver room, moving off from Jalen Waddle. Obviously, Tyreek Hill is no longer there. They moved on. They got Malik Willis to kind of come in and fill that stopgap at quarterback. A lot of new pieces, new organization. But, they said, nope, Achane's a foundational piece. We're going to keep him. They signed him up to a nice deal. It looks good. I know it was like $32 million guaranteed. Great numbers for a running back of his caliber that's, can impact the game both on the ground and through the air. So love that deal for them. And then Brees Hall, I still think he is a very talented running back. I am just worried about the situation. Like, is he a guy that's going to get lost in the Jets? And we'll just have to wait and see on how that all plans out. Plays out,
Can I
not plans
ask
out.
you an interesting money quirk that I saw this week?
Yeah.
Okay, so Breece Hall's contract, 3 years, $43.5 million. His guaranteed money, $29 million. Rookie number 3 overall pick,
Mm-hmm.
Jeremiah Love, signed his 4-year rookie contract at a fully guaranteed $53.02 million.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that is some of the rookie pay scale thing that it's definitely going to impact numbers going forward. I think teams like Detroit and Atlanta, thinking Bijan Robinson, Jameer Gibbs, probably the next two running backs in line for a big payday. They're probably going to be chasing that Jeremiah Love number a little bit more than like the Brees Hall number. But yeah, it's just a weird quirk, and I know that was one of the big reasons why people are like, does Arizona really want to commit that many resources? They have so many needs. Is Jeremiah Love the best pick? But hey, they thought he was the best player, and they took him here, and that's part of the thing with the NFL rookie pay scale, especially in the first round. Like, it's not based on it's this pick gets this amount of money, and there's not much negotiating from there.
That's very true. And I mean, it is worth noting AAV, it is still leaning towards Brees Hall, 14.5 million compared to 13.25, I believe. Um, but it is crazy seeing a running back just get drafted and get that basically top tier running back money. It is also something like we've talked about running back money for how long, and it feels like not many get the second contract, and most of them I think are gonna have to make their money in that first contract, especially if they get drafted that early. I mean the rookie deal, not even necessarily the first, re up.
Yeah, I would have to I would be interested, and we could look this up. We don't do this right now, but because we have a lot to talk about today. But like even what the number difference is for like Jeremiah Love to like Jadarian Price, like complete opposites, but the first round, so it's going to be fully guaranteed. Uh, that would be something interesting to see. How does that compare with like the Brees Hall number and the Devon HN number? But I think there's some other
Much
things we
different.
can talk about. Yeah, I know. Like
4
it
year
drops drastically
16.7,
outside
just
the
to
top
throw it
10.
in there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
it's pretty bad.
interesting stuff.
Wow. Massive difference. Didn't realize it was that big of a difference either. Sorry, I was not something I was planning on talking about, but I saw that right before the show and I was like, interesting. Um, but anyway, I think just to tie up Achan too, you mentioned some of those big backs that are going to be up for contracts next, like Gibbs, like Bijan, and I think it was smart for the Dolphins to jump that and get the contract done with Achan now, and basically locking him in as that cornerstone piece of their offense as they try to build back up. So that's props to them, I think, in that, and maybe a good move by Miami, and when we don't see a whole lot of good moves by Miami, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, I think Miami is in for a rough season. I just think they have a lot of young pieces and stuff like that. But I think if they're willing to stay the course, they are like I like how they didn't like overstretch the needs for draft at wide receiver. They took some big guys up front early. I know some people didn't like the Caden Proctor pick, but I think Malik Willis could be a potential bridge gap guy that could get them a couple wins, keep them afloat. I like the pairing with Devon Achan, like finding your core, building up a foundation. I think Miami can be back competing in just a quick turnaround if they stay the course.
Agreed. It feels like they're doing it the right way, and they just got to shed that cap penalty, which will happen over the next 2 seasons, and then they're right back into being able to make the big push. So they did it aggressively, but there's a chance that they can do a rebuild very quickly if they do keep following the course. I agree with you there. I'm going to move to tight ends, and David Njoku comes off the market, signing with the LA Chargers.
I'm a Chargers fan. I don't know what you're talking about.
Cool.
So you're
the
pretty
big thing I
excited.
wanted to talk about here was with fantasy, and I know there was a lot of people buying in on Andre Gadsden last year, and somebody who they thought could take a step this year. Now, two-headed tight end monster over there in LA, and that could be a problem with ceiling for one or both of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely hurts the Gadsden ceiling. I still think he'll be the primary guy. Where it might get complicated thing is like Gadsden might end up being, and this is just my initial thoughts. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they'll play differently, but it feels like Gadsden could be a guy that's more primarily focused like between the 20s, and then Njoku comes in for the red zone. I think they're both athletic and can play all over the field. So, I mean, obviously Njoku's getting up there in age. He's a little bit older for sure, but I think it's a good pairing, and we're seeing the league trend to a lot more of the two tight end sets. Hence, if we want to go back to the draft, we saw the uncanny run of tight ends in the second round, a lot of them being blocking guys. I mean, Njoku's a little bit of an all around guy, but he's definitely a pass first, be my opinion. So a little bit different there. But I think it'll be a fun addition, and just getting some more weapons for Justin Herbert in that offense to see if Chargers can compete with the likes of Kansas City and Denver in that division.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only other thing that we can say is there are targets that were opened up last year because Keenan Allen's not there anymore. So you would think that Quentin Johnston's still going to stay involved. You would hope Lad McConkey jumps back into more how he was in the second half of the season and continues that. But how they're going to fill those targets otherwise is up in the air. They have a couple of young guys that could step up, and then the tight ends.
Yeah, for sure.
Moving to another wide receiver, though, the Vikings finally took Juwan Jennings off of the board, signing him to a 1-year contract. Jennings is somebody I expected to sign a lot sooner. I know that they now view him as a guy to be the complement to Justin Jefferson as they try to figure out their true quarterback competition, they said, between J.J. McCarthy and Kyler Murray.
Yeah, it's not a true competition.
No, I agree.
Unless a new COD drops, then it could be.
I mean, every year, but by that point, the competition will be
Over.
one. Yeah.
No, I think, but for this move, I think it's a good move. Put more pieces around him. Like whether it's going to be Kyler Murray on this 1 year deal or if they're still committed to the JJ McCarthy experience. Like, I mean, Kyler has been good at times, but he has not been consistent. He's also not stayed healthy. So, like, there's a good chance we're going to see both these quarterbacks at some point throughout the season. It's a long season. So you add another piece to the wide receiver room, you build around the quarterbacks and giving them, every opportunity they can to score, and having Juwan Jennings be your number 3, or if you want to argue that he's the number 2 now and Jordan Addison's the 3, I might listen to that. I don't think we're quite there yet, but uh
Yeah.
don't know how many other, if you're ranking wide receiver rooms by their top 3, how many you're taking over this trio right now.
Not many. I mean, because you have the top end talent of Jefferson trying to rebound. But you and I both, I think, agreed that Jennings could step in and be a 2 for any team. And the fact that he doesn't even have to be because you have Addison, that makes it a very strong room.
Yeah. I mean, you're definitely the guy that's been higher on Juwan Jennings than I have for 2 years now.
Yeah.
So like I think there's still I still think Addison is the 2, Jennings is a 3. I think he's a nice complementary piece, so to speak, but he's a good player and I think he'll do well in this system. And as a Packers fan, you hate when the rival teams are getting a little bit better, but they still have that big question mark at quarterback they got to figure out. You can have all the weapons in the world, but if they can't get him the ball, then it doesn't really matter. Ask
Exactly.
Cleveland.
That's going to be the thing that, I mean, has made their ceiling over the last few years and is going to continue to now. Because they have a really good team around the quarterback, but they have not been able to lock down the quarterback play.
Yeah. Looking forward to that one. I know we're going to talk about the schedule in a little bit, but Minnesota, Green Bay, week 1 kicking off.
There we go.
Kind of hyped.
Well, a couple more quick bits of news. We talked about the refs and the NFL in negotiations about a week ago. They did sign a 7-year deal to bring the refs back in. They also said that this is going to increase access to officials in the offseason, develop a bench of officials. So that would probably mean if officials mess up, there's a better chance of them being replaced mid-season. And they're going to give a new formal training program that includes minicamp, training camp, joint practices. So the increased access to officials is something that I know you and I have agreed on in the past. We thought they should bring them on full time and be able to talk to them year round, but at least it sounds like earlier in the off season, we're going to at least see more training for officials, and hopefully that cleans some of these problems up.
Yeah, and I guess that does have to be a two-way street. I mean, a lot of these officials have other jobs, which sounds crazy, but maybe they didn't want to commit to the full-time thing, and isn't there to make it, because they didn't release any of the details about the, other than the few things that you just read off there. But at least we don't have to have replacement officials in the sense of Fail Mary 2.0. It does sound like there might be a replacement official sitting on a bench waiting to come in if some officials, go haywire or inconsistency and, aren't holding the game to a certain standard. But I'm glad it got done. That's basically the point of it.
Biggest thing I'm interested in this one is if it's going to make I don't know, ref report cards more public, or are we going to see some of the criteria that the NFL is grading these refs on if they're giving the possibility of being able to replace them or bench them?
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to work. I mean, is it going to be like the report cards that the NFLPA can't release to the public, but they all get leaked anyways, and everyone knows the grades and stuff like that? Or is it going to be, more hush hush and behind the scenes, and you won't even notice when a referee gets pulled for a week or two, or because it just feels like a bigger rotation. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out.
It definitely will. And then one more piece of news before we jump into schedule. Quarterback season 3 on Netflix was announced. The quarterbacks that are involved in that will be Jaden Daniels, Baker Mayfield, Cam Ward, and Joe Flacco. I didn't see a release date, but that usually comes out in June.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was June. I mean, it should be fun. I mean, I think having Baker in there would be a lot of fun. Joe Flacco going from the Browns to the Bengals and that, dynamic. I'll be straight up honest with everybody listening. I did not finish quarterback season 2. but kind of getting that continuation of the Bengals, like you saw Joe Burrow the year before. Now you see the Bengals from a little bit of the lens of Joe Flacco could be a fun thing. Obviously, Cam Ward had his ups and downs, but you get to see a young player coming up. So I think they got some good candidates there for sure. But we'll just have to. And I mean, Jaden Daniels, I don't know how much you're going to see from him but you'll get to see like maybe some of the insides and outs of him dealing with that pretty nasty, but didn't really do anything, but still kept him out of a lot of games, elbow injury.
Yeah, that's true. It kind of stinks that they ended up with Jaden Daniels and then had that happen. Baker is a personality I think a lot of people are going to be entertained by when they see him in this capacity. And I thought it was an interesting yet cool move that they went with a rookie with Cam Ward. So I agree with you there too.
Yeah. I mean, I think if I remember correctly, not to get like too into like the nerdy, like the first season, they like truly followed them. But then like the second and third season, they kind of like wait until like midway through the season to start picking quarterbacks and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I do think it's interesting we don't have a single playoff quarterback here though.
that's very interesting. That's a good point.
Like obviously the first one was Mahomes. He went to the Super Bowl. Jared Goff obviously made the playoffs the year he was on that with Joe Burrow and the Kirk Cousins thing. But it should be a fun experience if that's kind of how you want to roll and kill some time this offseason.
The interesting thing about it too is they can kind of pick quarterbacks late because the NFL Films covers these teams so in depth that you can kind of fill in the first 5 weeks with NFL Films content and then pick it up from there.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is a lot of that. I think that's kind of why I fell off of season 2. And again, maybe I'm completely wrong. If you're a big fan of it or you like it a lot, or George clips this and somebody sees it and tells me I'm completely wrong. It felt like it was a lot of they just brought the quarterback in for an interview, and then they had NFL Films and the team give all the footage they have of him, and they kind of just like retold the story that way. It didn't feel as authentic as the first season, but maybe that's just me being too critical.
No, I could agree with that. I was definitely not as into season 2 as I was season 1. Wide receiver felt different because different position group and whatever, but it did feel like a transition from how they did quarterback 1 to quarterback 2. I do think I finished it. It shows how much I was really enamored by it, by me like not being certain on it, which is unfortunate because I do really love a lot of these things, and I really thought quarterback season 1 was fantastic, and it really made me appreciate guys like Kirk Cousins a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that they can get back to that glory they had at the beginning.
Yeah, and I think some of it too. Like, I mean, we have a football podcast. We do it 365 days a year, basically. But like, it comes out in June. Like, that's kind of everyone's refresh, reset. You're timed a little bit of distance from the NFL because it is so much. And obviously, some people crave it and they love it, and that's why it's renewed for a third season. I mean, Netflix is known for canceling seasons after 1 year, so getting a third season plus a season of wide receiver, like that's credit to the storyteller on themselves too. So I don't want to, belittle the people that make it and put it together. It's just something that I don't get as excited for as I used to.
I won't lie. Every one of these so far, I've watched in the month coming up to the NFL regular season. I have not watched it when it's released.
Got it. Maybe a little bit of a hype thing. Kind of like how we watch draft day, the week of the draft, just to get us in the mood. Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly. Because in June, I mean, you and I both, we're like separating a little bit. We're still doing some episodes, but we're like not as in depth because we know that we're getting into July and August, and it's going to be major fantasy prep and draft season.
I mean, I know it would obviously be a lot harder and a lot quicker turnaround, but if they release this in March, the other end, like right after the season, because it recaps the season. That's the thing too. We get to the summer, and like training camps right there, we're kind of getting into that new team vibe, and then it's like, let's recap what happened last year. And if you're like 31 other teams and your team fell apart or didn't play as well, or you might not want to watch it.
Yeah, I did not enjoy watching the Mahomes episode from season 1 where he won the Super Bowl. I'll say that.
I mean, or even like, I know it's a different show and I did not expect this to be that long of a tangent too, but like the Kelsey documentary, and then he ended up falling short at the end of that one too. It was
Yep,
like, mm, that one stung. Great
it did.
documentary, but I'm sure
Fantastic.
Eagles fans had to, you know, find themselves in their feels a little bit in that one.
Had to eat it a little bit at the end, but it was a great documentary. That it's the biggest thing I'm taking out of this is we can talk about how like, season 2 of quarterback wasn't as good as season 1 or whatever, but like the NFL in general is the best sports league in the world at storytelling. And that's why there's so many people that are enamored by it, and that's why they have so many good documentary style, shows and films based off of it like this.
That's the same reason as I transition us here into our next topic, how we are now on day 6 of schedule release teases. Like
hundred
no
percent.
no other league teases announcements like the NFL. Like these aren't even games. They're just, hey, you get to watch your team on this day. And they have
Yep.
drawn it out, and people are invested in trying to figure out the leaks to get it at 7:28 when the team is going to announce it at 7:30. We're part of it here too, and we're going to talk all about all the stuff that we know. But NFL, it's wild out there.
It is, and I kind of word barfed onto our rundown, Cody.
I don't
So
know what I'm
I'm
looking at.
I'm gonna just start at the top. We'll probably mix through things. We'll have some very heated conversation. We'll have some very interesting conversation. We'll just recap some things. It's gonna be a mix, but they've
Can
done
we?
some very strange things with the schedule this year at some
Yes.
points.
But before you do this, because I realize what we're at the top, can we go out of order?
Yes, that's basically what I was trying to get at when I was saying it to you, because I was basically just trying to get all the info on the rundown, and it is not in an order that we could probably go by.
Yeah. So why don't we kind of like play it by, you know, obviously it's going to be hard. We're going to talk about all the international game stuff like that.
Yeah.
But let's start with opening day,
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday, because why not get more NFL?
Yup.
Because of that weird rule that they can't broadcast on a Friday, so they had to move this. But whatever. Super Bowl rematch. Are you excited?
Yes. I'm still, I think, a little shook by it being a Wednesday, which is why it's kind of, you know, not as hype as I would like it to be. I also think it being a Super Bowl rematch of two teams that like we weren't the most hype about being in the Super Bowl kind of takes it away, but it's fitting.
I mean, the Patriots have been in the offseason, are in the headlines a lot this offseason, whether it's
Yeah.
been football related or not. So there'll at least be some buzz.
Oh, there definitely will be. And I mean, Seahawks, was this a fluke one-time run? Was this, is this a team that's going to compete for the next 6 years like they did the last time they got this together? There's storylines. I think both of these teams are trying to show that they're not the one-hit wonder. And then like you said, all the things that have had the Patriots in the storyline. You and I are going to have to talk about how we're going to handle the beginning of the season with it starting on a Wednesday.
Yeah, we'll figure that out there too. But this game, I think it'll be interesting. It's not the matchup. I'm gonna be honest with you. The Super Bowl wasn't the greatest. The Patriots felt like a little fluky to get there, to then come back and open the season. Like it feels like it should be one of those games that Seattle wins again. Uh, what I will say, a couple years ago, it was like Kansas City, Detroit, and I was like, why are we picking this team? And then Detroit, that's when their breakout kind of started to happen after their strong finish to the season. So uh, maybe it'll change me around. I do think in some alternate universe, the NFL wanted to put Kansas City here, but with the uncertainty of Patrick Mahomes' injury, I see why they did not.
Yeah.
I thought maybe Chicago could be an interesting name as well. I mean, but the Rams are obviously the next game we're going to talk about, so that would take them out of the running too. But I think those have been the teams that might have been a little bit more compelling, even if you want to throw in Philadelphia there as
Yeah.
well. But get your AFC, not as important for week one in case there's some jitters, because there always is, and have a Super Bowl rematch and go on about your merry way.
See, I don't want to say they don't put division games as week 1 of the season, because we saw
Un-
them do it last year, literally.
Unless it's Dallas Giants Sunday Night Football, because
I
that's
mean, they did Dallas Eagles week 1 last year, but like it feels like this was a prime spot for that Rams Seahawks rematch because of how much every one of us was like that Rams Seahawks was what we were looking for in the playoffs, and that was the Super Bowl. But because of them throwing them the Melbourne game in week 1. And like you said, that's the next game we're going to talk about. That's Thursday night. Rams hosting the 49ers in Melbourne, Australia. Like, that was not possible. And it's interesting now you have that slot where Australia is in a different day time zone, let alone a different time zone. And I mean, the 49ers aren't getting extra time. The Rams are getting a Monday night game following that.
Yeah. I mean, they'll get the extra time in the sense of, they'll get time back when they come back to this side. And, in terms of flights, like, it's not a much longer flight than it's going to be for Rio later this year, because that's in the middle of the season now, or at the beginning, but still not the week 1 that we're been accustomed to the last couple of weeks. So that should be a really fun game. And then honestly, dude, I think that's where the week 1 slate kind of falls off. Like, have you seen
they didn't put a whole lot of oomph into the week 1 slate, did they?
So the full first week slate has been released, leaked, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. All right, so I'm going to read you the games quick. We don't have to go into every one, but I just want you to pick out the game that you're most excited about. So I'll start with the early window. Bears at Panthers, Bucks at Bengals, Ravens at Colts, Bills at Texans, Saints at Lions, Jets at Titans, Browns at Jags, Falcons at Steelers. Going into the 4:00 window on the East Coast, you got the Commanders at the Eagles, Packers at the Vikings, Cardinals at the Chargers, and then Dolphins at the Raiders. And then we have Monday Night Football being Broncos Chiefs. With
Broncos
maybe
Chiefs might be good if Mahomes. I like the divisional matchup of Vikings Packers, and then that Bills matchup in the 1:00 window seemed fine.
Yeah, it's just like and heck, a lot can change between May and September. I get that.
Yeah,
but there doesn't feel like a lot of oomph, which maybe is a good thing, because I think we talked about this last year. Is like week 1.
There's good teams that take 4 weeks to get going, especially with how teams handle the off season and training camps and preseason these days. We've seen so many times in the last few years that, almost every playoff team has 2 losses through the first month, and then after that, they turn it on.
Yeah, that's a good point for sure. All right, I'm looking at this rundown, and if you want to do something different, because I still try to figure out exactly what I'm at, you just want to roll through these international games real quick. We kind of already hit on the Melbourne one, and we talked about Rio a little bit. So you got it up, and you want to rattle them off, see which one you're excited for.
All right, so I will just to reiterate on Rio, it's a week 3 Sunday 4:25 game between the Ravens and Cowboys. It is not expected for them to get a bye afterwards either. That is in the same time zone as most of the United States, but it's interesting that they're going to have that long trip and then still play the next week. Week 4 starts the London games. There's 3 of them. So week 4 is Colts Commanders. Week 5 is Eagles Jaguars, and week 6 is Texans Jaguars. All those 9:30 a.m. Moving into week 7, they move that 9:30 a.m. game to Paris with Steelers Saints. Take a week off. Week 9 is Bengals Falcons in Madrid. It's in Spain. Week 10, Patriots and Lions in Germany in Munich. And then week 11 wraps it up with a Mexico City game as a Sunday Night Football matchup between the Vikings and 49ers. I know that's something they've traditionally done in the past, so that is not an unusual one. I think it's coming back, though, since they are done with the renovations from the World Cup for that stadium.
Yeah, I mean, there's some, the international games, there are always some question marks, right? Like Eagles Jags looks like a fun one. Jags always play well in London. They were a good team last year. I know they've had some questionable offseason moves, but the Eagles, you expect them to still be competing. That Ravens Cowboys game could be a lot of fun. Patriots Lions a little bit later. Those
have they ever had a divisional game in London? With Texans Jags.
I think so.
Okay, I'd have to, because I saw that and I wasn't sure.
I mean, I think they have. I think it's been with the Jaguars. I think the Colts have played them.
Okay.
Like off the top of my head, but
got it.
Could be not. But the other big thing to take away from this one is this spans from week 1 to week 11, only missing 2 weeks.
Yes.
11 minus 2 is 9. That's half the season. We're going to have at least one international game.
Yep. No week 2, no week 8. And I mean, some of the games feel less internationally than the others. I just want to say that because like week 1 you have that Thursday that gives the teams that are making that long travel a chance to come back. Week 11, that Mexico City game never really feels like as big of a deal because it fits so perfectly into the Sunday Night Football slot. But in the middle, that's a lot of 9:30 a.m. football quadruple headers for us here between weeks 4 and 10.
Yeah. Should be a lot of fun with that. And then I think what's one of them is interesting, and maybe I'm completely wrong on this one, but I think week 10. Uh is that it's the Fox one?
Yeah.
So they'll have the first broadcast triple header. Because of the morning game, the mid 1 o'clock, and the 4 o'clock game. So
yeah, the rest of them are NFL Network exclusives. That's a good catch. Interesting.
So something to think about.
Yeah, because I mean CBS also got an international game, but they got the 4:25 Rio game.
Yeah.
So little different.
So Fox week 10, double triple header. Football
Crazy.
in America.
But part of it's not in America. Okay. Let me see
That is
where I
true.
can find the next. So we started the season on a Wednesday. And I think Wednesday football, it seems like one of the harder days to make work. That and Tuesday, obviously, the 2 days that are like right in the middle.
I would
of the
argue Wednesday's
schedule.
harder.
I would argue Wednesday's harder too, because Tuesday to Sunday feels like an easier transition if you're putting like Tuesday at the end of a previous week.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it hard when to run waivers in fantasy football, but
yeah, but we actually have done Tuesday before during COVID, if you remember.
Yes, we had some games pushed a week or pushed a day, or
yeah. But I will say there's not only one but 2 Wednesday games on the schedule this year that have been official. So it's the opening game, and then Thanksgiving Eve, which is apparently going to be here to stay, not just a one-off. It's going to be Packers at Rams. And that's going to be a Netflix game, part of a whole, like I'll get into Netflix here in a second. We can talk about streaming services, but what are your thoughts on a solidified Wednesday game every single year now?
So I got 2 thoughts. One, at first I was like, okay, do we need it? Like, was there something special about the NFL that all your games were played on Sunday, and you had your Monday night game, and it like you looked your week towards it? Now we got Thursday, now we got Friday, now we got Thursday. Are we like spreading it out too much that it's like, I know people want it, people crave it, but like I think that's part of like one of the reasons why some of the other sports leagues, whether obviously the amount of games, but like baseball, basketball, hockey, like they'll play on a Tuesday, they'll play on a Thursday. Like it's hard to get up and get excited for when you know, instead of having that one day a week that you look forward to. I think that's a conversation that, some people are airing out now, especially with that. We can get into the amount of different ways you have, or how many different services you now have to watch these games, and so on and so on. However, with that said, if they're going to keep ripping Thanksgiving slates like they pulled off this year, and what we expect, I know that's a long way now, it might not look good, but here on May 14th, when you're telling me I get to think about Thanksgiving Day by watching Packers at Rams, then follows that up with a pretty darn good slate of Bears, Lions, Eagles, Cowboys, Chiefs, Bills, I'm not going to count the Black Friday game. Okay, we're not going to count that one. That's what the slate
that game is just there so Amazon can get people out of stores.
But those
that is
like
a hell of a Thanksgiving slate. You're not kidding.
And like if you're going to tie in Thanksgiving Eve to that, like that is I don't even want to know what the schedule looks like for the Sunday, Monday night of Thanksgiving week.
They put it all into Thursday, and I cannot say I blame them.
I mean, if they get their biggest numbers of the things, like that is probably my biggest takeaway of the whole schedule is like the NFL said, we are committed to Thanksgiving. We're going to add a game the day before at night, and we're going to follow it up with an incredible 3-game slate. Hopefully everyone stays healthy. Hopefully these games are still good. Obviously, things can change as we get there, but that 4-game stretch is what I'm looking forward to the most. And my wife works on Thanksgiving this week, and don't tell her, but I'm okay with that. Or this year.
She's not home yet, right?
Nope, not home yet.
Okay, we're good. We're good. And she still then gets to actually watch the Packers game on Thanksgiving Eve, so which also works out.
So, yeah.
Yeah, hey, how about that?
It's going to be a great time.
So before we jump deeper, so I mentioned Netflix for the Thanksgiving Eve game. Netflix has 5 games this year, adding on to the list of streaming services that already have games. I know that there's Peacock exclusive games. There's the Amazon Prime games that are mostly Thursday Night Football, but they mix in a couple of others like Black Friday. Netflix has now been signed to a contract where between 2027 and 2029, they're going to get 4 games per season. They're going to get a Week 1 game, a Thanksgiving Eve game, a Christmas game, and a Week 18 game, which is also interesting. I'm assuming that's going to be one of the Saturday slate games for Week 18. And they're going to get NFL honors. Just so we saw this coming with them getting, small baskets of games over the last few years, but is it getting too much where we have these streaming services getting essentially one-offs or just a handful of games a year, and you're having to now juggle 3 or 4 different streaming services along with your actual TV package or NFL Sunday ticket?
So, yes, and I'm curious. So we're going to have I have a question for you that will play into this as well, because I feel like for me, it's not as a big of a deal because I already have the streaming services and I'm not a local fan to my favorite team.
Yeah.
You're an Eagles fan and you live in the Eagles network that you get all the Eagles game on cable.
Yes.
Basically. So, and those games, to my knowledge, I think the market might be shrinking. Even if it's a Netflix, they still have to broadcast that in the area.
Yes, they do, and I will say that is one of the things that the NFL does right.
So, I mean, I think they legally, federally have to.
But
I think if it was their choice, they would make everyone go to Netflix.
I don't know if that true or not. Like, I'm trying to think about other sports in that same situation. And, man, I wish I was paying closer attention when, let's say the Sixers were in the playoffs and they had some games that were exclusively on Prime, but were they also on cable?
I think they were.
Okay.
I think they were on the Philadelphia Sports Network or whatever it is.
Okay.
But, I believe.
Tangent there, sorry.
But, so I think that plays a big role into it, right? Like, if you are a fan of your team and you live in the vicinity or live in the state, or not even the state, the city or the surrounding area.
The market.
The market. Thank you for finding the right word. Then it doesn't really matter to you. Like, it's a lot of fluff because you can find ways to get your game. However, I think there's a lot more fans of teams that don't live in the market than there are fans. I mean, obviously there's some exceptions, right? A lot of, the most Philly fans are in Philly, right? Like, I get that. Like, I'm not saying that they're not, but I think Philly is a big enough audience that there is a lot of them that isn't in Philly. I mean, Green Bay is one of the biggest brands in the NFL. Their stadium almost holds the population of the town. Like, there's a whole different thing about that. The other issue is where it does get even more convoluted, and this is such a nerdy conversation. So if you're still here, hit the like button, and I apologize for how nerdy we're getting. But you get into the conversation too, is there's a lot of people that don't have traditional cable anymore, and they use things like YouTube TV. But YouTube TV isn't held to the same standards where they have to hold the local networks as much. So you might have YouTube TV in Philadelphia, but not get the Philadelphia Sports Network, right? Because that's not a part of the streaming package, so to speak. So all that to say is I wish it was easier. I wish it was cheaper. But at the end of the day, I'm a fan. I'm going to find the way to watch the game I want to watch.
So I'll follow up with a couple of points. It doesn't bother me either because I already have, for other reasons, the streaming networks that they're using. But I do understand the frustration. When it comes to the local games, it doesn't matter in for what I understand, if you have like the local sports station when it comes to finding these exclusive streaming games when they're your local team, because at least in the Philadelphia market, and I would assume this is everywhere, they have a contract with an actual cable station to cover those games. Like when the Eagles played Thursday on Prime last year, their game was aired on the local Fox affiliate. So
Mhm.
you didn't need an NBC Sports Philadelphia. You needed just your local Fox station, which you get under basic cable or you can even get with an antenna.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So there's that. The other thing, and I don't know the answer to this, and I don't know if you do, so I'm going to ask you the question. NFL Plus tells you when you sign up that you can get your local games and you can get all the primetime games streamed for their $10 or $15 a month. Do you get the streaming exclusive games because they are primetime games or single window games included in that package? And if you do, then I don't see why it is an argument against like putting all this here because you can then pay the NFL the $10 and get coverage of all of that for it.
So I think you can, but it's only to your mobile device.
Okay.
So I think if that's how it's been in the past, you can, but it's only to your mobile device. So I think that's what deters people. They want to watch it on their
Got
TV.
it.
They want to have watch for, and I think it's to the point now that they've gotten good. Like it's not screen castable.
Got it. Okay.
I could be wrong on that aspect of it too, but I think they've gotten uh, something similar to that.
Okay.
Again, if you've listened through this whole nerdy conversation, because we are in May of the NFL season, trying to get excited about schedules and stuff like that, and you have a different opinion, drop a comment, let us know.
Yes, definitely. So, with that being said, I think that's a full enough streaming services discussion. The other games that we have confirmed kind of around a holiday, Christmas Eve, there is it's Christmas Eve is a Thursday. We have a Thursday night game locked in on Prime, typical. It's Texans at Eagles. And then Christmas Day has a 3-game slate, 1 4:30, 8:15. Two of those games on Netflix. It's going to be Packers and Bears at 1. And then Broncos hosting a 4:30 game. I'm not sure if we got the actual team they're hosting it yet. There wasn't at the time we put together the rundown. And then a Rams Seahawks 8 o'clock cap to that on Fox, which I'm glad we at least got one Rams Seahawks game as a primetime game in a key window. But Christmas being on a Friday, they definitely took the chance to fill that window up and try to make the NBA mad again.
Yeah, and for that TBA one that you have, it's Buffalo.
Buffalo at Denver, that's a good one. So
Yeah.
another holiday that they loaded up a pretty solid slate for.
No, I think that'll be a fun time. It just sucks when your favorite team plays on Thanksgiving, or excuse me, well, it sucks either day. But
Thanksgiving Eve
and they
and
lose.
also Christmas.
But like the 1 o'clock Christmas game, this is just me being selfish. Packers Bears. Like if the Bears win, like a Bears win on Christmas, just like ruins the day for you, right? Like I can't have it. So, but that's just a selfish, part of me. But I think in terms of the matchups, it's a ton of fun.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about it, and I want to see if you agree, there's a lot of repeat teams on both of these holidays. Is that going to maybe be a problem? Eagles play both Thanksgiving and then Christmas Eve. Packers play Thanksgiving Eve and Christmas. Rams play Thanksgiving Eve and Christmas. Like Bills, I think you said were the Broncos game. They would get Thanksgiving and Christmas.
I don't
Do you think they should
so.
went for more variety?
No, because I think they're going to pool numbers, and I think that's what it's about. Like, I mean, it's so hard too because it's so late in the season, and someone might end up hurt, and you don't want to see that, and it might cancel things out. But let's even talk about the Thanksgiving slate, right? Like we said, the Black Friday game is Broncos at Steelers, and that one is definitely like the stepchild of the schedule. And the big question is because
it's a bad game either.
Well, it is if it's Drew Aller.
Fair.
So, like, that's the thing. Like, you don't even know who the Steelers quarterback is, and that's what makes it kind of hard.
They're banking on being A-Rod, but you got a point.
They have a lot of it seems like the Steelers got a lot of primetime games, but rumored so far because that one hasn't been fully released yet. But it seems like they're all in the flexible window. Like they were like, just in case they'll be able to flex it out. But and I think the thing that surprises me the most, honestly, is like we don't have like a major, like I would say Packers Bears is probably like is a big one, but like not having the teams of late that have been, you're talking about the Chiefs, the why am I blanking on the Cowboys, like not having them double dip into Thanksgiving and Christmas as well. I think that's the NFL giving some variety in that sense. So
Gotcha. So they're still double dipping a lot of the big market teams, but they are not all of the big market teams, not maybe some of the big market teams that we're used to seeing get double dipped, like the Chiefs, like the Cowboys.
yeah, and I'm just trying to look
Instead, it's the
quickly.
Eagles and the Packers.
So like that's week 16. I'm doing a real quick search here of like what other games might be interesting to like put there. Obviously, they could have changed the schedule around, but if you went one for one, like does like a Cincinnati Cleveland, or actually that's Carolina. I was looking at the wrong line, but
Oh, gotcha.
uh, a Baltimore Pittsburgh looks like they might be again.
They've
Nope.
done plenty with Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and big windows like that, and it's worked out.
Yeah, it is very hard to tell which one is which week. So that could be a week 15 game as well. But none of them are like popping off as one that really stands out. So I think they got it right.
Yeah. Well, and again, if they have that solid of a 4-game slate around Christmas, it's going to be a much weaker Sunday slate, similar to what we're talking about with Thanksgiving week.
Yeah, I
There's
agree
so
with
much
that.
you can do. The only other games I have on here that are notable around holidays, New Year's Eve Thursday night football is going to be Ravens Bengals. I like that move. That was solid. And then it looks like they're staying away from New Year's Day to give it to college as typical, and that I think is the right move.
Yeah, I mean, college can have that. So
Yeah, exactly. Sure.
they
There's
won't care though
plenty
when
of
it falls on
other.
a Sunday.
Oh, when it falls on a Sunday, it's all out the window.
Yeah.
But while it's on a Friday or a Saturday, like it's going to be the next few years, they're gonna stay away. But I think New Year's Eve is going to stay a thing while it's in this part of the week. Thursday, obviously, they already have dibs on that, but I wouldn't be shocked if next year, New Year's Eve on a Friday, they still try to sneak a game in there.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either, especially and I think go on another tangent because we're 50 minutes in. Excuse me. Uh, if college football expands their playoffs again, which there's talks about, then their New Year's Day bowl games become less important. Like obviously the tradition of the Rose Bowl is important, but like if it's now the semifinal or like the quarterfinals instead of the semifinals, like
crazy to me that teams can just go win multiple bowl games in a year now because they are all part of the college football playoff.
I mean, I do like that they've like kept the bowl aspect of college football and like made that the games. Like it's cool that like the semifinal is held in the Rose Bowl or the Orange Bowl or the Sugar Bowl or the Alamo Bowl or whatever. Fiesta Bowl. With I don't need to go through any more list of bowls, but I from like a person that grew up going like, oh, winning the Rose Bowl is like second best thing to winning the championship, and now it's just like 2 more games to play if you win this one. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I was going off of. So makes sense. I don't know. I like cereal bowls myself.
Ones with the straws, like when you're a kid.
Yeah, I actually have a cereal cup I got lately. Solid, recommend.
Not a sponsor, Crunch Cup, but if you want to be,
Hey, you knew exactly what I was talking about. I like it. I knew I could count on you.
we throw a discount code in there.
There we go. I'm sure there's plenty of other games that have been released. If anyone's out there listening, waiting for their team schedule to be released in a few minutes, I would check out the social medias of your given team. But anything else you want to talk about, Cody?
So I do have a the league thing up that's filled out. So if you wanted to, is there any teams that you're interested on when they play or any matchups you want to talk about, or you just want to wait for the schedule releases?
Man, you're putting me on the spot here. I feel like if I was looking at like at least potential opponents, we could hit some like favorite games to watch, but
I mean, I think
tough
we've
to
hit
do
some
on
of
the
the.
fly.
I think it's some of the big ones too are in those holiday slates, which makes it
Yeah.
very exciting.
And like we already got the Super Bowl rematch locked up.
Yeah, we got the Bills Chiefs game. We got the Rams Seahawks, Packers Bears.
Did the Chiefs have a cakewalk schedule this year of finishing not first finally?
Let's see. Again, not official, but Chiefs. Let's go. Let's do this. First 4 games.
Okay.
Assuming Patrick Mahomes, they say he's going to play, but how late? Let's say he starts on pup. It'd be Denver that Monday night game, week 1, and then the Colts, Miami, Las Vegas bye. So like that's
Oh, they still
pretty
put
good.
them on Monday then Sunday, didn't they? Night, I mean.
What do you mean?
Chiefs first 2 weeks Monday night, Sunday night?
Are they? Because is it week 2 Sunday night football? Yeah,
Against
Kansas
Indy.
City. So they're expecting. They must be expecting Patty back
Oh, they must be.
to get Kansas City 1-2 like that, both in primetime slots. There is a stretch of their schedule in the middle of the season that goes Jets, Falcons, Cardinals.
Okay.
So, but no,
But
I mean,
didn't I hear that they have a really rough patch down the stretch?
so they're the Chiefs' final schedule again, not officially confirmed last 5 weeks at Cincinnati versus the Patriots versus the 49ers at the Chargers, and then they get to end the season with the Las Vegas Raiders. So,
And you missed before that stretch at Buffalo, at Rams.
yeah. So they have that week 3 games that I talked about, and then they have a long stretch. And before that, they have Seattle, Denver back to back.
A lot of tough away games for them, it seems like.
So
It's going to be interesting to see how they rebound, even though they might not have the toughest overall schedule, but it seems like they have a really tough away schedule.
Yeah. So, but I think that's everything. I mean, we're almost out of time. So I got one more question for you.
Okay.
This is not schedule related, and this is the end of the football talk. If you are done listening, feel free, log out. See you next 2 weeks. We're taking a week off because I'll be on vacation. Right now, May 14th, who wins Survivor 50?
Oh my.
Spoilers if you didn't watch last night's episode.
Yeah, cut off now if you have not watched up until the finale. Finale's all we got left. Man, I had this locked in on somebody who got eliminated in the last episode. So I'm going to have to pull my I'm going to say that people don't expect what Rizzo can do and he pulls it off.
Yeah, I think based on the last episode, I was leaning Rizzo as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think if he can get there, and he can explain himself well, I think he'll have a chance. And it sounded like people don't respect his game, and they might want to bring him there. That's always the interesting part about that, is bringing someone, so to speak, with you. But yeah, I mean, I'll be honest.
Interesting thing about him is if he can tell the jury his story of where he got to in 49, they haven't seen what he did in 49, and then tell them how he got to a final tribal back to back using, holding idol, everything else. I think he has a shot.
Yeah. So again, don't want to spend too much time on Survivor. Maybe we'll start a second podcast about it.
There we go.
But I did see something where he has been to 18 tribals now with an idol in his pocket and never played it.
It's got to be close to a Survivor record.
For sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think his is a fascinating story. I'll throw out Tiff out there too, just because she's been doing so well of late. But I do think there might have been some of the season got too crazy, and it got and maybe it's just some of the legends that got eliminated recently, but it feels like a season where, the best player might not have won.
Yeah, well, I would agree the best player had not won because of Suri getting knocked out. She's been the best player.
For sure. But, all right. that wraps up this episode of the Couch GMs podcast with a little tease of a potential Survivor episode. Maybe, probably not going to get us locked in on it in the fall because football is there, but maybe next year, instead of doing game night, they'll do Survivor recaps. Who knows?
There we go.
But as always, thanks for checking out another episode of the Couch GMs podcast. We are live on Thursdays during the off season, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Reminder, schedule update, no show next week. So we will see you all in 2 weeks, getting you ready for the NFL fantasy football season in the dead zone. So stick with us. We will be bringing some great content. I'm Cody Roadcap. That's George Kurth. And we will talk to you all next week. In 2 weeks.